Welcome to That Little Crafting Place, where we make miniatures and much more. I hope you've all had a wonderful week. Today we are going to replicate this wonderful 100-year-old tea cozy. Over the last several years, my goal has been to use up all of my craft fabrics that I have thrifted and learned to use a lot of the tools that I've collected. So we're going to go through this box of wool and fabrics, and we're going to put together a replica of this little tea cozy from Ireland. I purchased this in the early 1990s. It is about 100 years old. You can see it's kind of coming apart. I'm going to have to repair that later. This tea cozy is made from raw wool, and I don't have any handy at the moment. I do have some wool I have to card down in the garage, but we're just going to go into my stash and we're going to use up what we can for the craft fairs. But this is going to be the first one out of all that I'm going to make. I'm going to begin with cutting out the doors and the windows from cardboard and get those ready to go. Out of all the types of fabric that I really love to have is corduroy. I have a fondness for it. We're going to begin by creating the little lattice windows. This is wool fabric that I picked up several years ago. My intentions are to use the various colors for rug hooking. I'm going to start by creating a diagonal on one side, and then we're going to flip it over and do the other, creating diamonds. Craft fair season is upon us, so I'm going to be going back and forth between the family room and the garage as I complete and reassemble my build in the dining room to sewing for the craft fair. I'm going to be making about 50 tea cozies, and that amount of tea cozies should last me about 2 or 3 years of craft fairs. The foundation of the tea cozy is going to be made out of thrifted wool. I do believe this is wool intended for upholstery. It is quite thick and it will keep the tea quite warm, along with the padding that I use inside. I'm going to anchor the lattice work down with double-sided tape. It's going to make it much easier to sew when I flip the window over. Just fold the foundation over, mark it with a pin, and make sure everything's centered, and you're on your way. I'm going to machine embroider a lattice design around the edges to give it that nice finished old-fashioned look. When I'm making inventory for craft fairs and I'm going to make duplicates of any one design, I cut all the pieces out first and create an assembly line of my work. It makes the process go much faster. Well, I think we're off to a good start in making a new version of an old tea cozy. I'm going to cut the grass out of burlap, and I'm going to anchor it down with a simple zigzag stitch. Now it's time for a little embellishment. I purchased these silk vines from Amazon several years ago when I was teaching myself how to do crazy quilt embroidery. So we're going to create a little rose vine around the cottage. I'm anchoring the silk vines down with a simple straight stitch. I have I've actually been wanting to do this project for years. I do love my old tea cozy and I do use it, but it is very delicate as it's grown in age, so I'm going to make a new one for myself, and I'm going to make several for the craft fair. This is raw wool that I purchased on eBay many years ago. I washed and carded the wool myself, and the purple color is actually from Kool-Aid. If I do add any embellishments after this video has been posted, I'll share that with you later this week. Now we just need a little doorknob. I think that's going to be just fine. Absolutely perfect. Now it's time to get the two pieces sewn together, and I have to be careful with this wool because there is a front side and a back side, so I want to make sure I get the right sides together. Before we get them pinned, we have a few embellishments to add on the back of the tea cozy. First, we'll add a strip of burlap, anchoring it down with a simple zigzag stitch. Then we're going to add a rain barrel made out of the vintage corduroy. I'm going to use some red wool for the drain pipe. The drain pipe is almost finished, and again the red color comes from Kool-Aid. Now that the back of the cozy is complete, it's time to make the lining. I've made the lining out of a thrifted 100% cotton sheet. The thermal batting I've created out of thrifted fleece blankets. I've washed everything in Lysol disinfectant laundry soap. All of the fabric that I do bring home from the thrift store, I do wash thoroughly in disinfectant laundry soap. For wool fabrics, I use Dryel. For each side of the tea cozy, I've used 3 pieces of fleece. I purchased the fleece blankets for $1.50 each on 50% off day. The size of the blankets are anywhere from 1.5 yards by 1.5 yards, sometimes 2 yards by 2 yards. And for $1.50, that is a lot of batting because each side of the blanket is a separate piece of fleece. Because the batting sheets are sewn together, nothing's going to shift inside of the cozy. Using fleece is ideal for this project because the fleece will retain the heat and it will not separate and bunch up like the fill that you use in a pillow. I want to keep this project looking vintage, so I'm going to seal the hem with a hand stitch. A couple of weeks ago, I thrifted about 1.5 yards of this wonderful thick brown felt. I'm going to use that for the thatched roof on my cottage. We're going to add a little tap of wool for the chimney, and I think we're almost done. I've cut a hole in the exact center and I'm just going to anchor it down with some double-sided tape. For the chimney, I'm going to use this wool fabric I used in my build for the kitchen staircase. I don't show it here, but I did round off the cottage rooftop and I hand stitched it similar to the stitch I used for the drain pipe. And now our tea cozy is done. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please like and subscribe. I welcome your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. Tap that notification button for upcoming announcements of thrifts and crafts, but most of all, have a lovely, lovely day.